Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host Chris Davis, and today in this video I'm going to talk about the most heavily used Pokemon in Pokemon ranked battles. So they're going to be the Pokemon that you heavily see from the Great Ball tier all the way up to the Master Ball tier. And I'm going to show this to you guys in the tier maker. So with that being said, let's head to it. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do right now is show you like the most competitive Pokemon going on right now in the ranked battles. And these are most likely the most heavily used Pokemon in VGC. Because if they're used up in the Ultra Ball and Master Ball tier and those areas, then I'll even say Great Ball tier 8 on up, then you can bet that a lot of these Pokemon are being used by people who compete in VGC. But when I was playing ranked battles, getting all the way to Master Ball tier, which took me a little over a month and 2 weeks to get to. Technically, for being honest, that's it. A month and 2 weeks, because I did get set back, but not as far, and I was able to push through. But anyway, these are the Pokemon that people use mostly in ranked battles, VGC. I'm going to put them on a list, and I'm going to give you a story about them. Now, let's start off with this one. Calirak. Okay, Calirak's Ice Rider form. This, by far, is the best one in VGC right now in ranked battles. But if someone uses Trick Room with this Pokemon, the battle's pretty much over because of Calirak's Ice Rider's defenses. He can't be one-shotted at all. He takes a hit, he dishes back a harder hit, and when he knocks you out, his ability, I can't think of it right now. Shadow Calyrex is Grimnay. I think his is Ice Ray something. Every time he knocks out an opponent, his attack goes up, and his attack is already freakishly high. So Calyrex Ice Rider form, when this thing is in Trick Room, it's pretty much unbeatable. You can't knock it out with one hit. Almost every time I faced this thing, I lost. Until I improved my team, I was able to beat this thing, but I've never been able to one-shot it. Even with weakness policy, I've never been able to take down Calyrex Ice Rider form with one hit. I've always had to play around it, and it was always the last one standing whenever I had to face against it. So Calyrex Ice Rider form, I'm telling you, very dangerous. And even especially when you Dynamax this thing, it becomes even bulkier, and you're definitely not going to take it down. And you also have to be careful of it when it's not Dynamax, because it can do that Glacial Lance, knock out 2 opponents at once, and then it gets a double attack boost. So that's automatically the best one. Moving along. Okay. Another one. And it's going to go in this best category too. Solgaleo. Solgaleo is a super version of Metagross. When I face this thing, I can never take it out in one turn with one attack. I always have to play around it. It's usually the last one standing when I'm playing against it. Why? Because it's steel typing, has a lot of resistances, is the way that its stats are spread. It's bulky and it's not one-shotted. People take advantage of this by using weakness policy as well with the Calirak. Calirak has a plethora of weaknesses, but despite that, with the Ice Rider form, it doesn't go down. But with these two, people skillfully use weakness policy, and their attacks become astronomical. And whenever I'm having to face Solgaleo, I have to make sure that when I do attack it, I don't use a super effective move, because then I'm going to proc that weakness policy. This is another Pokemon people love to Dynamax, because when it's Dynamax, it gets extra HP and it's even bulkier. And if you hit it with a super effective attack, it's not going to be one-shotted. You're going to proc the weakness policy. It's going to take that hit, dish back a even harder hit, and you're going down. So you definitely have to play around this thing whenever you're facing it. So it's definitely going in that best tier. Moving right along, Groudon. Groudon goes in the great tier. Groudon is another bulky Pokemon that, even though it's not the fastest, its speed is still good enough to outspeed some things. But where it lies, its strength lies, is it's a sunsetter. So it sets the sun, weakening water moves. Also, if you have a Pokemon that has chlorophyll, like a Venusaur, that makes that faster. It's also boosting up fire type moves. It's also giving power to Pokemon that have solar power, like Charizard. So this Pokemon, whoever uses it, they get a lot of benefits from it. If you attack it, it's not going to be one-shotted. Whenever I have to face it, it is nowhere near as troubling as the two up here, but Groudon still gives me like a lot of issues. I'm not able to knock it out with just one attack or even two attacks. Sometimes it takes three. So I have to sort of play around this Pokemon, and I've lost to people who have used Groudon before, because it's just so bulky and it takes a hit. It can dish back a harder hit. It's not too slow like Calirak's Ice Rider form, and neither is Solgaleo. But Groudon, it has that sun. It uses Precipice Blades, high crit ratio, Rock Slide. It hits both opponents. A very dangerous Pokemon to go up against, but it is nowhere near as menacing as these two up here. Now, moving along. In fact, this one deserves to go up on best. Zacian is going up on best. Reason why Zacian is going up on best is because Zacian is so overpowered. You don't believe how overpowered this thing is. To me, it's not more powerful than the Solgaleo and the Calirak because of their stats, and they're super powerful when they Dynamax. But Zacian, everyone like I play against in the ranked battles, almost every single person has a Zacian, and I have to be careful of them. And you just can't send out any Pokemon against Zacian. I can do it. I can deal with Zacian a lot easier than these three. However, Zacian still goes up on that best tier because I see a lot of people using it. It's great at taking out like Dynamax Pokemon with Behemoth Blade. It's fast. It hits hard. It has that Steel Fairy typing, so it's very bulky, and it has a lot of resistances. I sort of have to play around Zacian when I'm facing it. I either have to paralyze it with G-Max Volt Crash, or I use Whimsicott, which I'll bring up probably next or later on in this video. Use Endeavor to weaken Zacian, or use Cinderace. If I have Cinderace, I can one-shot Zacian, but that's if I have Cinderace. But you have to be very fearful or respectful of the Zacian, because it hits fast, it hits hard, very tough Pokemon to deal with, and it can sweep teams. Alright, speaking of, I'm going to go ahead and do this Pokemon now. Well, let me do all the legend. Well, I already mentioned it, so let me go ahead and put it here. Whimsicott. So, Whimsicott, it doesn't belong there. Doesn't belong there either. Not even there. So, great bestish. Like, it could go really in any tier. I'm putting it at grade. Probably deserves the best, because it really helped me get up to master rank. Whimsicott is a very good Pokemon, especially when you're using double battles, because Whimsicott it has the prankster ability. It can use a lot of status moves in order to give you an advantage early on in the game. So prankster allows you to use status abilities with plus priority. So that's what makes Whimsicott such a great Pokemon, especially when you're doing double battles. Tailwind, Cotton Spore, things that speed up your team, slow down the other team, Stun Spore, Memento. A lot of status moves you can use to impair the other team. So Whimsicott is definitely a good competitive Pokemon. Definitely helped me with the Tailwind to outspeed my opponent, so I can get the first hit on them and paralyze them if I'm using G-Max Pikachu, or set up more speed with the Dynamax Air attack that grants you more speed with that move. So definitely Whimsicott's in the great tier. Probably deserves to go up in best tier, but it's not as widely popular used as these other four up here. I saw a few people using it, but not as much as some of these others down here. But it's still a great Pokemon. If you're using double battles, you want to consider having one, depending on your playing style, whether you're doing Trick Room. If you're doing Trick Room, then you don't really need Whimsicott. But if you want to outspeed your opponent, try to hit them first, having a Whimsicott is definitely a great choice. Now, another Pokemon I want to use, Yveltal. So, Yveltal's pretty good. Good thing about like Yveltal is this is another weakness policy Pokemon. Reason why, because it has a lot of weakness, so it's really easy to proc that weakness policy. It's very good at using the Dynamax air move that increases speed, so it helps speed up your team. It's definitely not a Pokemon that's one-shotted. It does really great at hitting very hard, and if you let this Pokemon keep speeding up, it can sweep a team if you aren't prepared for it. I have lost to Yveltal a few times, and Yveltal, especially when you proc that weakness policy, is definitely a Pokemon that you don't want to mess with. Yveltal's really good. Saw a lot of it. Saw more Yveltal than I did Galarian Moltres. So I think Yveltal does have higher attack and I think higher speed than Galarian Moltres does. But definitely you want to not sleep on Yveltal, because Yveltal, if you let it get out of hand, it can sweep your team by getting plus speed with the Dynamax wind attack, and it can weaken your team even more if it uses the Dark Dynamax move to lower your special defense. Okay, next one, Regielecki. Regielecki, great Pokemon. It's another Pokemon that hits fast, hits hard. It's not in the best tier because to me, it's a Pokemon that can get walled out. If you have a ground Pokemon, if you have a grass Pokemon, or even a dragon, you can wall out Regielecki. Even if you have it can be walled out. Especially if you have Lightning Rod Pikachu or Raichu, you can definitely wall out Regielecki. And when I was playing against Regielecki in VGC, I pretty much walled it out most of the time. I think when it came out earlier, when it was first released, it was more threatening. But nonetheless, I still see a lot of people use this Pokemon, and it does get a lot of sweeps. It is crazy fast. I think Regielecki might be the fastest Pokemon yet. I think it was Deoxys speed form that was the fastest, but now Regielecki is the fastest. And with the Transistor ability, it's another Pokemon that hits fast, hits hard. However, it doesn't go in that best tier because it can be walled out with abilities and with type immunity. And if you have a Pokemon that's very, very bulky, so very threatening. You want to have a ground type Pokemon, or Pokemon with the Lightning Rod ability, so you can kind of make this Pokemon useless. But you definitely have to respect it. This Pokemon is going up here. Yeah, this one's going up here. Indeedee, and the male form. The reason why Indeedee male form is coming up here on best because it's paired with Calyrex Ice Rider form. So whenever most people are using Calyrex Ice Rider form, they're going to use Indeedee with a Pokemon that's going to Trick Room set. And Indeedee is really good at helping you set up Trick Room for Calyrex Ice Rider form, because what it does is use the move Follow Me. So whenever you're trying to stop the Pokemon that's going to do the Trick Room not so fast, Indeedee uses Follow Me, so all your Pokemon are redirected towards it. And usually people have it focus sashed, so it's going to take 2 Pokemon to knock it out. And then by the time you knock it out and get a chance, the Pokemon that sets up Trick Room have already set it, and now you're in serious trouble. There are some couple of ways you can get around it. You can have bulky Pokemon in the beginning. You can try to use Fake Out. One strategy I thought of was using G-Max Cinderace and then using the Pyro Ball technique, the G-Max Pyro Ball version of it, because if you use that move, then Follow Me won't work. But I tried it a couple of times like a year ago and it worked, but for the most part, when people use Indeedee, they use that Follow Me move, and it works almost every single time. And when they get that Trick Room off, If you don't have anything like bulky or that can resist some steel type, the match is pretty much done. So Indeedee is definitely going in that best tier. Also, it does Psychic Terrain, stopping priority moves, also doubling the power of Expanding Force. And Psychic Terrain, I think it gets a Expanding Force gets a double boost, because I know Psychic Terrain powers up psychic moves, but also Expanding Force, I think its power even doubles even more when it's used in Psychic Terrain. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So let me check real quick. Pokemon Expanding Force. Okay, this is Bulbapedia. Okay, give me 1 second. I know I probably got it right. So, Expanding Force inflicts damage. It normally targets a single Pokemon. The Psychic Terrain is in effect, and the user is grounded upon its execution. This move gets a 1.5 times power increase, additional to the usual 1.3 bonus from Terrain, and it becomes a move that targets both opponents. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, sorry for the interruption, guys. I apologize. Anyway, okay, I was right. It gets 2 power boost, 1 from Psychic Terrain, 1 from using a move in Psychic Terrain. So, and people also, if they don't focus sash it, they'll use a item that is activated when it's in terrain to increase its special defense. So this is a great utility Pokemon. It's very good. It belongs in the best tier. Okay. So I guess you guys are wondering what Pokemon are going in the good tier. Maybe not any of them, because these are Pokemon that are widely used and successful in the ranked battles. But let's move on. And another Pokemon that goes into the best tier. Yeah, it belongs in best. Porygon 2. So I know you guys are saying, like, why are all these Pokemon and look like in the best tier? They're good. They're widely used. I've lost to them plenty of times. Porygon 2 is a very threatening Pokemon when paired with Indeedee or Amoonguss, whether they use Follow Me or Rage Powder respectively. Porygon 2, Trick Room Setter. It is bulky. You can't one-shot this Pokemon no matter what. Even if you use a G-Max or a Dynamax Pokemon, you're not one-shotting it. It sets up Trick Room to help its bulk even more. It has told in the Eviolite. So what that item does is, if your Pokemon's not fully evolved, its defense increases dramatically. So this is a Pokemon, again, that I have to play around, that I can't one shot or even two shot. I have to be skillful to knock it out to where it doesn't impact me too much. It still impacts me a lot, but not too much. So definitely you have to be respectful of the Porygon 2. Now, one Pokemon that's going into the good tier is Calirak Shadow Rider form. If you had to, we had to talk about which form is better, Ice Rider or Shadow Rider, Ice Rider wins by a mile. It's nowhere as fast as the Shadow Rider form, but that doesn't matter because let's say if you was Shadow Rider versus Ice Rider form would still win, because even if Shadow Rider attacked it the Ice Rider form would just tank the hit and probably would just one shot the Ice Rider form. It's fast, but it's very frail. And the reason why it goes on this good tier, guys, is I've seen it a lot, but I've been able to easily counter this Pokemon. Like, I could use Sucker Punch Cinderace and knock it out, or I could use Lugia and proc a weakness policy and knock it out. I could Tailwind and already outspeed it. That's why it goes into that good tier. It's still a strong Pokemon when it uses the Astral Barrage. It can knock out 2 opponents and get a double attack boost with Grimnay. But I pretty much have an answer for this Pokemon whenever anyone uses it. Like I said, I'll either Sucker Punch it with Cinderace, or I can stop it like with Lugia and the multi-scale weakness policy. Next Pokemon that comes up, Kyogre. Now, the reason why Kyogre, guys, goes in the good tier is because people use it a lot, but to me it hasn't been as menacing and as notorious as these up here. I've been pretty much been able to one-shot it by outspeeding it, or lowering its HP so Water Spout doesn't do that much, or resisting its attacks. Groudon is definitely more formidable than Kyogre is. And if you watch my videos and my playthroughs on my second channel, which I'll try to remember to have the link in the description box below, I pretty much deal with this Pokemon every single time. There has been times where I've lost to it, but most of the time I've been able to beat this Pokemon, and it is just not as menacing or as tough to deal with as Groudon, Solgaleo, or the Calirak's Ice Rider form. So it kind of goes in that. It goes in the good tier. Okay. Another Pokemon that I'm gonna put this in great tier, and I haven't seen people use this Pokemon as much, but I've been using it, and it's Cinderace. Really good Pokemon. Like I said, it's really helped me knock out the Calirak Shadow Rider form, help me one-shot the Zacian whenever I have it ready. But also with the Libero ability, it really keeps your opponent second guessing about what you're going to do. And I've been even able to one-shot Incineroar with this. Even when he intimidates me, I've been able to do a high jump kick and knock it out. It even helps me take down the Calirak's Ice Rider form whenever I'm on my A game. But Cinderace, really good Pokemon, can really help you with the Libero ability, keep your opponent second guessing, really can help you increase your speed with the Dynamax Air Attack. Really good Pokemon that if your opponent's not careful, you can snowball and it can sweep teams. So definitely respectable Pokemon. You have to respect it. Now another Pokemon kind of goes in the good tier. Maybe it should go in great, but to me it goes in good, is Gastrodon. Now, don't get me wrong, you have to respect Gastrodon. If you use water Pokemon and you're not careful, the Storm Drain is going to absorb your attack. However, I've been really able to play around this by using Grass type, or mainly using Grass type Pokemon in order to deal with this, or sometimes even other Pokemon to deal with this. And their attacks don't have to be super effective in order for me to either one-shot or two-shot this Pokemon. But definitely, if I'm not using a Grass type, which if I use a Grass type on this, I one-shot this. Definitely, if I'm careful, if I'm aware of it, that my opponent has it, I can definitely play around it and be careful with my water type Pokemon. Like when I put my Lapras on my team, I was able to take a Gastrodon down with Freeze Dry. So Gastrodon's tough, but if you're careful and you're aware of it, you can definitely play around it. You can use a grass Pokemon to one-shot it, or you can use other Pokemon that have very high attack that are wall breakers in order to take Gastrodon down. Now, the last on this list. This goes in the... It deserves to go in the best tier. Incineroar. The reason why this Pokemon goes in best tier, guys, because I almost see every single person I face use Incineroar. Incineroar is a great lead-in Pokemon. It deserves to go on this best list because people put this Pokemon out first. It intimidates. It lowers your opponent's attack. It can do Fake Out, which can like stop your opponent from moving. It can do great switch out moves like Parting Shot, which I saw people use, which I didn't think could be a thing with Incineroar because back in Generation 7 it was really a Lowland Persian, and a Lowland Persian doing it made real sense because it was faster. And the whole thing with the Lowland Persian was you were going to bring it back out and keep doing that Parting Shot to weaken your opponent's attack power. But Incineroar is able to pull it off because even though it's not fast, it's bulky. I'm telling you, usually you can't one-shot an Incineroar, especially when it's holding an Assault Vest. Now, I've been able to do it with Cinderace with the high jump kick. But usually, on a regular blade basis, Incineroar doesn't get one-shotted, like, at all. It is bulky. It takes hits. It dishes back tougher ones. Yeah, it's slow, but I'm telling you, when you're facing Incineroar, it is bulky. It's not going to go down to one... It's definitely not going to go down with one hit, unless you're using a very high, super effective move. And when I say high, I mean high attack power. Like, we're going up to, like, for example, the Cinderace with the 130 high jump kick with the stab. And I don't think Libero powers up moves. I think it just changes the Pokemon's typing. But anyway, a high attack like that, and with a high attacking Pokemon. Other than that, this Pokemon's not going down. It's not. It's very bulky. People lead in with it. It uses Fake Out. It intimidates. If I don't have Cinderace, it's going to at least take 3 or 4 moves before I take this Pokemon down. So Incineroar is definitely respectable. It's definitely still as strong as it was when it was released in Generation 7. So, definitely a really good Pokemon, definitely respectable. You definitely have to take it seriously. So, guys, this is my tier list for the best Pokemon in ranked battles right now. Now, this is from what I've seen in my own personal experience playing Pokemon Sword and Shield in the ranked battles, getting all the way up from the whatever low class all the way up to master class. This is what I have seen mostly throughout my playthrough, playing for a month and 2 weeks trying to get up the master class. These are the Pokemon I've seen people use most of the time. These are the Pokemon I've had to face a lot. And I've lost to them a lot, and I've had to learn how to work around them, learn how to play against them, learn how people use them. So this is from what I've observed. Now, you may have observed something different. I'm not saying that this is like Bible. Like, I'm not saying this is it. Like, no one else's opinion matters. No, if you have another Pokemon that you think deserves to be like in this group, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. But I've chosen these Pokemon right here because these are the ones that I've had to face the most, that I've seen people use the most on my way up to the Master Ball tier. So guys, I'm gonna do a second video following up on this about the Pokemon that I used to get to Master Ball tier, and that's gonna be a good video. When will I have it up? I don't know. Probably. It's definitely not gonna be. We'll see about tomorrow. We'll see about tomorrow. I've learned how to use this tier maker, so we'll see about tomorrow. But if not tomorrow, definitely Sunday. So if you liked what I had to share, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with all your friends, and also check out my second channel, CD Gaming. I'll try to remember to have that link in the description box below. Thank you all for watching. Have a great one.